Saturday morning, the Experts program kicks off. That means Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, online with us once again. Luis, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. First Saturday in December. We're almost done with the year.
This year has flown by so fast. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I think back to, I remember January distinctly as we were all celebrating the end of COVID. Remember those days?
Yes, exactly. Wow.
Here we are.
Hey, we've got an interesting topic to broach today. With updated safeguards rule, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, signaling some new waves of cybersecurity enforcement for financial institutions. So what are we talking about here? Who is a financial institution and what are they trying to do? What is the FTC trying to do?
This has implications that really are pretty broad and far-ranging. The FTC has this law called the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, or GBLA, that has largely been restricted to what we think of as banks, credit unions, those sorts of institutions that require them to do some very serious planning and maintenance of their security practices, including their cybersecurity practices. And now the government, through the FTC, has decided to expand what the term financial institution looks like and also what the customers of those financial institutions look like. So in essence, what this is doing is it's requiring many more companies to be much more diligent in their documentation and their security practices. And this extends beyond banking now to anybody that does any sort of financial services and financial transactions for customers. So it includes things like accounting firms, pawn shops, a lot of companies that do brokerage, like mortgage brokers, or anybody that collects information and has financial information on customers is subject to these new rules. And this is part of the government's effort, the federal government's effort, to tighten our cybersecurity practices to prevent supply chain attacks. And they recognize that a lot of the data that is being collected by these companies hasn't been protected like it should be. So now these companies will be required to do things like have access controls documented, encrypt all of the customer information that they hold or they transfer, have a very precise documentation of how their security practices work and what kind of incident response plans they have in place. So this is going to affect a lot of companies that may not know that they're now going to be subject to this new FTC GBLA rule.
One of the other things they're asking, or that they are demanding that these companies also do, is to require multi-factor authentication or reasonably equivalent or more secure access control. Would that be for the end user?
Well, yeah. So basically all of their, any systems that they use that can be equipped or enabled with MFA or multi-factor authentication has to be enabled. So for example, if you are using Microsoft's hosted services or Google's hosted services as a business, all of those have the ability to have MFA enabled, and you're going to have to be enabling those in order to protect the data that you use that you might be transferring via email to customers and other vendors and within the organization. If you use any hosted services like banking services or enterprise resource planning services, then you're going to have to enable MFA if it's available on those systems. And a lot of companies have MFA available to use, but they just don't use it because it's, it kind of adds another layer of inconvenience to logging in. But the way that the feds look at this is like, that inconvenience is what is protecting that information. So if you are covered by this new FTC expanded rule, then you have no choice but to enable a lot of those features that in the past you probably had, the option to not do.
I remember a few years ago when I made a trip cross country, when I was in certain areas, like I got a certain distance from home and I was purchasing things like buying gas at a pump, I would get a text from the bank that held my card asking there's a purchase for $53.25 but from such and such on your card. Do you authorize this? And then you could reply yes or no. And I'm wondering if that kind of thing could be done for every purchase that you make with a card, or would the banks, the cards, consider that to be too cumbersome? But it would seem that would be a way of kind of stopping a lot of cyber crime. If every time your card was used, you got a text to your phone asking whether or not this is an authorized purchase, if there was a deduction that was being made from your account, you would get, a text that would say, are you making a withdrawal of $500 and, something dollars, yes or no? Please reply.
That would be a really effective way to make sure that, your accounts aren't being compromised. I know that, to your point, in the past, there was one time I was in Ronnie and I were, I think, in Europe on vacation, and we got a text that somebody had purchased some beverages on an airplane from, Monterey to Phoenix. And it said, was this a legitimate text? Because it seems like you're in two places at once. So American Express's own AI systems could tell that there was something funky going on.
Right.
And it turned out that, my credit card had been compromised. So they just shipped me another one and denied those charges. But that's what we need to do in order to be protecting ourselves from cyber criminals and protecting the information that we have relative to our customers and our clients from being compromised, is just, enable some of these new, and in some cases, long existing protections that are available to us. And the government's going to make sure that whether we like it or not, we're going to have to do it.
Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us today on Power Talk. Online, it's alvareztg.com, @AlvarezTG. That's the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-TEAM. That's 866-784-8326.